Hey, can we test the video one more time?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, what'd you guys do? Oh, you guys still, I thought you guys had that fixed. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
The heart of the, which one was it?
Yeah, if it's gonna show, it's gonna show. So well, the main board of it is blue. Well, it's not working. Yeah, what is it? Why is it showing? What is that?
I wanted to last night. I saw you, so I'm not not going to hold this against you because I'm a Redskins fan. Okay. But I definitely want it. Yeah. It's nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to listening to you.
Or we could use more weight. We'll sign not even getting this way. See, it's not pulling it up now because the main board just went. I got everything working this morning after. You blow a board.
I'm having to rethink. So we both need.
I don't think
we
we're
need
gonna
this
get. I mean,
door.
we're like a minute before
All right.
we're supposed to start. We may have to. We're a minute before we gotta start.
What do you want to do? What? I'm
Well,
just.
so-
Do they know that I'm gonna unplug so he can get ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Williams, it looks like we're not gonna be ready because it looks like we're trying to fix the main board. So I can put up the video. See how that goes. Sorry about that. It may be working when we do the second one, but this will be your practice run. This will be a good practice. So Brandy will do an amazing intro. Brandy will hype you up with an amazing intro.
Do you need a bathroom break? There's a bathroom right behind you. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Have a couple of announcements to make before we get started. I know there was some questions about the weather. Just wanted to remind y'all that the status
Go Cowboys! Go Cowboys! Go Cowboys! How many Roll Tide fans we have in the audience today? Roll Tide, roll! We're on our way to our next championship. Got a game out here in California. Santa Clara, California. We'll be trying to get our 18th national title. And we hope that we're able to do it. You know, we got two good situations going on at quarterback, a little controversial, a little friendly, competitive rivalry between Jalen and Tui. So we're very excited about our chances going into this game. We feel like we have every chance to win. We feel like our defense is playing pretty good. We feel like our offense is better than the offense we ever had at the university. So we feel pretty good going into this game against a very powerful Dabo Swinney coach Clemson Tiger team. How many Clemson Tigers we have in the audience tonight? Okay. Well, I know where the support is going then. We're going to roll with the Tide, and we're going to appreciate everything about this game. But Dabo Swinney is a good friend of mine. We played together at the University of Alabama. We was on the 1992 national title game. We played against the Miami Hurricanes down in the Sugar Bowl. And we was able to go and be victorious. We ended up winning that game 34-13 when we was a heavy underdog. I don't know if any of you all was around at the time. I don't know the age brackets, age range in this room, but I think that most of us would have witnessed that game that was televised and played in front of a national audience. And if you watch that game, you will understand what this message is about today. It's the heart of a champion and having the heart of a champion. Today, I hope that you leave with the idea of what a heart of a champion really means. When you're talking about the heart of a champion, you're talking about someone who has overcome adversity, someone who knows what it feels like to be on the bottom and then be able to overcome the obstacles and make it to be on top. And that's what my life has illustrated. I'll give you a little bit of background about who I am. I'm Sherman Williams, born to two parents, Betty and Eugene Williams, in a small community of Pritchard, Alabama, located inside of the community of Mobile County. I was fortunate enough to attend public school systems all my grade school years. But if you all, any of you know anything about the inner city, being raised in a community where it's very violent, drugs, crime, all types of things that would not produce a healthy environment, that would be a city of Pritchard, inside of the county of Mobile. And I was blessed, I would say, to fall in love with a sport, the sport of football. I began playing football at a very early age, and what encouraged me to play football was being a part of a family. My father played, my uncles played, my older brother played. So football to me, being in that environment, football to me became a refuge. It was a place that I could go and feel like everything was okay, knowing that I would have to return home. My mother and father divorced when I was the age of 8 years old. My mother was a great Christian woman, passed away in 2008, but God bless her soul. But football became the place that I would go and get away from the circumstances surrounding my area and my environment. My mother thought that it would be a great idea because at the time of their divorce, I became rebellious. Didn't understand what was going on, being an 8-year-old kid, not understanding why my father wasn't in the house, not understanding why things were not as well as they were before to that point. And I started to become a behavior issue in school. Very disruptive, was always a bright kid, scored high on tests, made good grades, but I had behavior issues. My mother said that I was using my energy in a negative direction. So she thought football would be a place where I could go and participate and burn off some energy. Not knowing that I would develop a passion for the sport that would eventually take me to places where I never knew that I would be able to arrive. Going on to play in junior high school, after playing in the Park Warner leagues, I was able to play in junior high school and become the #1 player in junior high school at the 12-year-old age. But that was because of the passion. That was because of the desire, the work, the want to, and all the things it takes to be successful. But at a very young age, I didn't realize as I was going through it, the decisions I was making, the things that I was doing to be involved in football at a higher level. Being the #1 player in the region, but I was also in an area that I was making decisions that wasn't going to be productive. I became a member of a gang at the age of 12 years old, influenced by the environment, influenced by the community, became a member of the gang, started doing and getting involved into criminal behavior at the age of 12 years old, was expelled from school, expelled from junior high school because of the decisions I was making with the gang that I was involved in, the associations that I was developing. High school. Viger High School was a powerhouse high school back in our community that was a national champion, great football program, but I wasn't allowed to attend that program because of me being reinstated. I just took whatever I could. And the school that I went to was Blunt High School, which was across the track from Viger High School. And Blunt High School was coming off a string of 0-9, 0-10, 1-8, 1-9, a string of terrible seasons. So I was able to be reinstated into the public school system, so I went to this school, Blunt High School, and I still had a strong desire to play the sport of football. And as I became one of the best players in the state of Alabama playing football, by the time I was a senior in high school, we had became state champions. In the midst of my senior year in high school, I was crowned the most valuable player in the 5A 1990 football season, won the state championship, became the first player in Alabama school history to rush for over 3,000 yards in a single season. And also, still in that environment, having those associations, running with those people, making poor decisions, was still not able to break away from the obligations of the people in my community, my peers, and my associations. Still was continuing to make poor decisions, was granted a scholarship to play football at the University of Alabama. After signing a scholarship letter of intent, I continued to make poor decisions and continued to be involved with this community and this group of guys, group of young men, and I was charged with a criminal charge of second-degree attempted murder. By being involved in this gang, we had a rival gang. One of our fellow members was shot. We had different people, things going back and forth. We would shoot one, they would shoot one. It's just what was going on in the community. It was days where when I wake up in the morning, I didn't know if I would live to see the next day, or if I would have to take someone's life, or someone would take my life, or a friend of mine would lose their life. It was a continuous cycle. But one thing about it, you know, when you have faith and you believe in what you're doing, and you have the Spirit of God over your life, anything is possible. Anything is possible. During this time, I was fortunate enough to escape once again, having to serve any significant amount of time, was able to continue my career, went on to the University of Alabama, was fortunate enough to continue to play the sport of football, went through the circumstances, overcame it, and was part of the 1992 national champions at the University of Alabama. But this all relates to having the heart of a champion. Things weren't always good. It was a high, there was a low, there was ups, there were downs. But one thing about it, continue to having that fight, continue to having that passion, having that belief system, and believing that, hey, it's going to work out, I'm going to be able to overcome this obstacle. I will make it to where I want to go. Dreams will become reality. I never gave up. I never gave up what I really wanted to do. I really wanted to play the sport of football, really wanted to be the best athlete I could be, but I was making good decisions by going to the University of Alabama, not quitting on school, not dropping out. I could have dropped out when I was in the 7th grade at the first run-in. I could have dropped out and gave up right then and said, I'm done with school. School is not for me. I'm not going to be able to overcome. I'm at a bad, negative situation. But I didn't have that mentality. I had what was called the heart of a champion. And each person in this room today has that. But it's up to the individual to be able to tap into your system, tap into your belief system, and overcome the obstacles. Our life is going to be challenging. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be things that we're going to have to overcome. Things may look good for one person, may look bad for the next person, but life is a journey of challenges. Throughout this journey of challenges of my own personal experience, I was able to continue on at the University of Alabama, overcoming the obstacles, being a part of a national championship team, but then going on to be drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. We're talking about winning a state championship in high school, winning a national championship in college, being drafted by America's team. How many Cowboy fans we have in the audience tonight? Cowboy fans, where we at? Okay then. How about them Cowboys? It's a good year for the Cowboys as well. We getting into the playoffs again. We'll play against the Seattle Seahawks coming up this Saturday. Hopefully we'll be victorious and continue on, and hopefully we'll get Super Bowl number 6. How many Pittsburgh Steelers fans we have in the audience tonight? Okay. Pittsburgh Steelers have six Super Bowls. We have 5. San Francisco 49ers. How many 49er fans? 49ers? Okay, all right. This man here, you a fan of everybody, right? I heard y'all say Alabama, woo. I say Dallas, woo. I say Pittsburgh, woo. Hey, that's good, though. Man, that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. Be a fan of everybody. Hey, if you want to win, just win. It don't matter. Pick a team every week. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with winning, man. Winning is good. Anybody that wins, that's your team. I'm fine with that. But hopefully that we'll be able to continue on. We'll go on and beat the Seattle Seahawks. How many Seattle Seahawks fans we have in here tonight? All right, cool. That's fine. But we hope to win and go on and try to win a Super Bowl and catch up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They beat us to number 6. We beat them to number 5. They beat us to number 6. Hopefully we'll beat them to number 7. We'll win 2 before they win another. But I was fortunate enough to be blessed to make it to the NFL. First pick for the Dallas Cowboys in the 1995 draft. Carrying all this baggage with me, all my past endeavors and, growing up in the environment and just being able to overcome and praising God, thanking God for the opportunity to play on America's team, with the opportunity to win a Super Bowl, and went on to win the Super Bowl. We played against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We played the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl 30, 1996, my rookie season, and we was able to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that was a good thing. I was very excited, very happy, fortunate. And one thing about it, coming into millions of dollars and being able to help my family and being able to be in the NFL just was a great honor. But bringing all this baggage, life doesn't change. Life doesn't change. You can have a dream, you can have a hope, you can have the aspiration of whatever your dreams, hopes, and desires may be, and then you make it to that next level. That doesn't mean that your life is going to be perfect. Most of you will graduate and be high honored on whatever your endeavors are in this branch of the military. You'll be exactly where you want to be as far as the accomplishment and the accolades in your profession. That doesn't matter. That doesn't say that life will get easier. Life will always be full of challenges. No matter how far we go in life, we still have to be very grateful and thankful for the many blessings that we have, because things can be taken away in a matter of seconds. And it can be based on simple decision-making process. And we'll all have it. No one is exempt. We are born in this earth, under this covenant, under this blood, that it's going to happen. No matter who you are, how high you are, how low you are, life will always have challenges. Being a Super Bowl champion was a great, great feeling. But having all this baggage, the things of life, making decisions, still continue a habitual rate of poor decision making, but making good decisions as well. But there was those poor decisions that led to consequences. Consequences are a direct result of your decision making. Decision making is very simple. If you make good choices, you make good decisions, you're going to have rewards. I made good decisions, worked hard, outworked the next person, stayed up late hours studying playbooks. Those were great decisions to help me make it to the level of competition that I wanted to make it to with the NFL. It helped me a lot, making those decisions with my friends and say, hey, let's go have a drink, let's go have a smoke, let's do whatever we want to do, let's do this. But I say, no, I want to run this extra mile. I got to get up in the morning and run these sprints because I had a desire, I had a passion to make it to the next level. could have made the decisions to do exactly what they wanted me to do and would not have made it. But by me doing it, I was able to reap the rewards. On the other hand, if you decide to make poor decisions, getting expelled from school, getting involved in criminal behavior, being a part of a gang, doing all these things, they're going to be suffering of consequences. By a show of hands, how many people in here would love to wake up every day, blissful, happy, no bills coming in the mail, things are good, the children are fed, food on the table, everything is good, you're smiling every day, you're happy? How many people would love to wake up in that state of mind every day? By a show of hands, yes. I know the feeling is a good feeling. We have 100% of people who would love to have that feeling on an annual or daily basis. How many people would like to wake up sorrowful, sad, disgusted, miserable, don't want to have nothing to do with life, don't want people to say nothing, just don't have no passion, no energy for nothing that they want to accomplish, just having a terrible, sad life? Let me see how many people would love to live that life. Okay, that's 100% a no. And this life is just that simple. No one is going to be perfect. We're not going to get it right every time. But it's like this. Having the consequences of poor decisions, you're going to live that life of negativity. No, you don't want to live that life, sorrow, sad, those types of things. But you make the good decisions, you're going to live a life, you're going to have more rewards than you're going to have of negativity. And it's very simple. It's a 50-50. You make good decisions, you're going to benefit from rewards. You make poor decisions, you're going to suffer the consequences. And it's up to you as an individual to choose your life, to choose the path, to choose the pattern that you want to live. Before I exit today, I want everyone in this room to know that each one of you are blessed to have the heart of a champion. But it's up to the individuals in this room to be able to overcome the obstacles, the curveballs that life's going to throw you. But you do have the heart of a champion. You can overcome. You can make it to the highest you want to make it, or you can make the decisions to make it to the lowest you want to make it. I've been to federal prison, served 15 years in federal prison, the lowest place you can be. You can't be no lower than going to prison for making poor decisions. I also been to the highest office you can be, the White House, visited the president twice, won a national championship, visited the president, won a Super Bowl, visited the president, been to the highest office in the land. And everything in between come from being one of two things, responsible or irresponsible. God bless y'all. I leave y'all in peace as I come in Jesus' peace. I pray for each one of you all to have a blessed and hopeful life that is full of hope and aspiration. Continue to follow your dreams because things don't always seem the way they should be, but God has a master plan for each one of us. God bless y'all. I hope I was a joy to you today. And roll tide and go Cowboys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'd like to present you with a LEDx coin as a sign of our appreciation for you being here today. Thank you so much for being out here. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Please take a 5-minute break, and let's try to be back in our seats by 10:40, actually, if at all possible, so we can try to keep on schedule. Thanks.
Of course, we got the cord backwards. It's on the front side. Maybe. Can I, just need to go over it. Like, can you go over it without unplugging it? I don't need the cord. Okay. Sorry.
No, I think we got it.
So it's a little dicey right here, but
I'll just try not to walk backstage then.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask you to go ahead and take your seats, please. So if flexibility is really the key to air power, this is a good case study for us today. So unfortunately, we've had some AV issues. Our entire computer system upstairs, to include the mechanism that controls our lighting, is currently down. So we're rolling out option B, and we're gonna try to make the best of this particular briefing in hopes that we can resolve the rest of the issues by the afternoon. So if you will please be kind and bear with us on that. I would like to go ahead and introduce our next speaker to the stage. You guys are in for a real treat here. We've got Colonel retired Michelle Mo Barrett. Mo started her career at the Air Force Academy. After graduation, she launched her career as a successful failure, becoming the first member of her pilot training class to receive an UNSAT on her training flight. She went on to fly the C-27 and also the C-5. Mo has spent her 25-year career using hard work and authenticity. Her ability to view the world through the lens of humor, optimism, and perspective have guided her through the challenges of life in her career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my new friend to the stage, Colonel retired Mo Barrett.
Trust me, that is a good thing for you guys. It's a very good thing. So I want to welcome you guys back. I know we have a little bit of a hostile audience because some people had to come back early from break, right, for LEDx. Yes? Well, I am excited to be here. So as Brandy said, I am Mo Barrett, and I'm excited that the X stands for experience because there are some white space built in intentionally and things like that, and there are some first-rate speakers and minds and authors. And so take advantage of that. Use that white space to glom onto them, buy their books, exchange information, exchange contact information, and that's really what this experience is about. So I hope you take advantage. If you guys are taking notes, you're wasting your ink. So I do want to point out, though, see, already better looking. See, I do want to point out, though, that I am not one of these great minds or speakers or authors. I'm actually the invisible dot right there after and more. So I'm going to be with you guys trying to get those books, trying to get my paws on them, taking the mom selfies and everything else like that. But none of us should leave here empty-handed or empty-headed. That's the goal, right? We have something we can give, something that we can take, and I'm not saying like steal ashtrays from your room. I'm just saying that we can leave here with things that are tangible and things in our head. And there's something for everybody because diversity, right? Is this anybody's first time hearing the word diversity? No. We use it all the time in government, in politics, in school, in corporate America, and certainly in the military. But I want us to expand our definition of what diversity means, more than just your ethnicity or your gender or who you sleep with or where you went to college or what your commissioning source is. I want us to expand what that definition is and open our minds. And I realize that's very easy for me to stand up here and say, as a half-Asian gay female Academy grad pilot, but I just want to make sure that I want us to expand our definition of diversity to mean diversity of who we stay in touch with, diversity of our contacts, diversity of who we reach out to for mentorship, diversity of who we mentor, diversity of the thoughts we put in our head, diversity of the things that we tell ourselves, whether they are self-limiting beliefs or not, and diversity of innovation, whether they're our own ideas or the ideas of others that we try. Good deal? All right, so if you promise to keep an open mind, and again, it's great that I'm in the dark, I promise to not talk about anything you don't already know. How's that for getting your money's worth, okay? So instead what I want to do is I want to take some time to look at things from a slightly different perspective. Okay, who got it? I want to have a paradigm shift. Yeah, I tried it on my partner. I know, it goes, thank you. I went over like a pregnant pole vaulter, I'm sorry. So I just want to talk about things from a slightly different perspective, okay? So just a slightly different way to look at things. I have a unique view on life. I don't know, it's one of my gifts or curses or blessings. I'm not sure which one it is. So we're going to jump right into this. How many of you have been in the cockpit of a plane during the final approach to landing? And if you're a pilot, please raise your hand because we need you up there. Okay, so we got a few, right? Looks something like this. All right, I appreciate the laughter. Everybody know what movie that's from? Airplane, excellent. I appreciate that. Look, we all come to Air University. We come to these events. We do touch and goes at professional military education. And we study every joint pub ever written. We study the air power, the principles of war, all these theories that we study, right? Thucydides and Sun Tzu and Jomini and Clausewitz and all these dead guys whose names are way too long and too complicated to spell. But I want to make sure there's diversity of what you study. And by that, I mean the study of the true classics. Anything with Will Ferrell, anything with Chevy Chase, okay? We just got through the winter holidays, so everybody should have watched Christmas Vacation. That is required viewing, is it not, here at school? Absolutely. So my point is just make sure you take a break and give your brain a break and look at the world through that different lens. Yes? All right, so where was I? Oh, cockpit of the plane. Okay. So in the cockpit of the plane during that final phase of flight, there is a lot going on. You got your feet on the rudder pedals, you got one hand on the throttles, you got another hand on the yoke or the stick. Your eyes are scanning inside, looking at your engine instruments. Your eyes are scanning outside, looking at the environment, looking for weather, looking for other traffic. You're on the cockpit, you're on the helmet, on the headset, and you're doing checklists, you're getting updates, and you run the checklist. If you are lucky enough to be a strategic airlift pilot, you're talking to your loadmaster about passengers and cargo. You're also talking outside the cockpit. You're talking about, you're getting updates from the tower, you're getting your clearance to land. All these things are going on. And then you got the quirks of that particular tail number, that particular day. Sorry if that was me. You've got those little quirks. And sometimes they need a little bit more trim. Some of them have that one gauge that no matter how many times you tap it, it's still fluttering like this. And then you got the quirks of the zipper-suited sun god, right? You got the personalities, and then we're supposed to compartmentalize as pilots. He shouldn't be thinking about, did I leave the garage door open? Did I leave the oven on? He shouldn't be thinking about the fight he had with his girlfriend that morning. He shouldn't wonder if his wife is going to find out. He's got all these things. Too soon? I never know where my filter is, so. But his whole job is to make sure that airplane gets on center line, on airspeed, safely to the runway. That's his whole goal, is to get that plane there. And look cool doing it, of course. And it's no different when we drive a vehicle down the road. We have these center lines. Now, pilots are special people. We get that center line painted right down the middle of the runway saying, here it is. But when you drive down the road, you just have to split the difference. But you're still fighting for that center line. And there are things that predetermine our definition of what right looks like. They may be physical things like the edge of the paved surface of the runway and then the grass, or the edge of the road, the shoulder, the guardrail, the sidewalk. If I have to go to somebody's yard, I don't want to get in the car with you. There are also intangible things that guide our actions within that space. Rules put out by the Federal Aviation Administration or rules put out by DOT or DMV. These things all guide our maneuver space, and so we aim for that center line. But then there are things that impact our ability to fight for center line, whether they are distractions inside the car or the cockpit, distractions outside the car or the cockpit. And then there's inputs that we provide to counteract those impacts, right? Everything we do is at some sort of reaction to what's going on to affect us so we can stay in the lane and stay on the center line. And our inputs can be proactive. We use our turn signals, right? If we want to change lanes, we let people know, we announce our intentions, we're coming over. This is nobody I knew, I stole this from Google. Or we react to our environment. Let's say when the power goes out and the whole board blows and you're in the dark and you have to brief off a TV. We adjust to those things. So those are reactions to our environment. Like, if that doesn't make you want to get like an extra steering wheel for your car, I don't know what does. And I know Mr. Justice talked about perception optics, I think is what he called it. And we don't always react to a true threat, just some old lady with an extra steering wheel. But sometimes we react to things even if they're just a perceived threat and not an actual threat. The good news is a lot of us have been flying or driving for so long that we've been able to delegate those things to habit. We've been able to delegate those habits and those inputs that we do. We delegate them to our subconscious. We just do them automatically. We don't have to think about that. What I found in my own life is that there are some life skills that I have delegated to habit, to subconscious, because I've been living a lot longer than I've been driving or flying. So I'm assuming there might be one other person that might be in that same boat. So I want to take runway 27, doesn't matter what runway it is, I have runway 9 on my socks. Runway 27, and we'll convert runway 27 to the runway of our lives. And the runway of our lives is paved with every role that we have. And this is just me taking 5 seconds to think about all the roles one person can have. And think about those things. And just like we have the bounded maneuver space, we have laws and expectations and societal norms and all these things that kind of guide our actions in those different roles. And just like in the car or the cockpit, there are things that impact our ability to do those different roles. We never have enough time. We never have enough money. There's things that we want to do. There's things that our boss or somebody else wants us to do. There's things we tell ourselves. And the list goes on. There's things that we tell ourselves. There's the company that we keep, the food or the drink that we put into our bodies. All of these things are impacts. And some of them may be helpful impacts, and some of them may be distractions, and some of them, maybe kind of going counterintuitive and fighting us against our fight for centerline. But we need to define those center lines. And one thing I like about having the white space here is if you guys take some time in the next couple days, those of you with your eyes closed right now, I'm assuming that's what you're doing, so I appreciate you participating. But think about all the roles that you have, not necessarily the roles you chose for yourself. Last I checked, the draft is over, right? So anybody in uniform is probably voluntarily doing so. We chose that role for ourselves to be affiliated with the military. And there's some roles that we chose. Now, like I talk about son or daughter, I don't know about you guys. I had very little input into whether I was born, and little input into whether I got siblings. And my sister, rudely enough, she and her husband did not consult me when they decided to have a child. And so I'm an aunt. And then they had another kid without talking to me, and I'm an aunt twice. But I have two center lines of the kind of aunt I want to be to my two different nieces. These are the roles that we have. And again, we look at those things that guide our maneuver space with those roles that we want to have. I don't have any human offspring, but look at that fine, strapping young man. This is Boomer. And this is him in a Speedo, if you can't see that, and make sure it is not on backwards, that's his tail, so I just don't want to. I apologize, I probably should have pixelated some of this. Anyway, this is my son, Boomer. And even as a dog parent, there are rules and things and expectations about how I behave as a dog parent, right? So it's probably illegal for me to strap my young son and to put him on a short leash, unattended, outside in bad weather. Probably illegal. And if it's not illegal, we live in a society where that is not acceptable behavior for a dog parent. There's a societal expectation that that's not how I'm going to treat that handsome young lad. So, wait, speaking of dogs and laws, is anybody here from Ohio? Don't celebrate too quickly. All right, from the people who woo-hooed, anybody from Paulding, Ohio? Yeah, the good answer. Because in Paulding, Ohio, it is legal for a policeman to bite a dog. It's the correct way. The policeman can bite the dog so long as it's in an effort to calm the dog. So what I'm saying is that's just useless trivia that I have right up here, holding my bangs up. But I think it's those kind of things that bind our maneuver space that some of it we may not even be aware of. I'm not saying we want to go bite a dog. I'm just saying you could if you were a cop in Paulding, Ohio. But we have to define those different center lines. We have to assess how are we doing with all those things that bind the maneuver space and all the impacts, all the crosswinds of life that are blowing us on or off course. Take the time to think about how are you doing with those things? And then we adjust. And the first thing I'm going to say is if you do your assessment, you listed all the roles that you have, whether you chose them for yourselves or they are chosen for you, and you look at all the impacts of life that we have going on and all the demands that we have, and you find that you're on center line for the course that you set out for yourself, then celebrate that. Because I think we have so much negativity, whether it's on social media or our feedback sessions, which are cleverly disguised as areas for improvement. But we want to make sure that we take the time to celebrate when we are on course. And I think we failed to do that quite a bit. So my partner and I have set out for ourselves a relationship goal of one that's positive and encouraging and supportive. And so that's one thing we do. And the one way we celebrate that is we leave this jar on our, by the cat in the keg apparently. But throughout the year, when we have moments where we have had a moment that it can be so mundane, where something that made us laugh or something that made us positive and made us connected, we just kind of jot it down and we put it in the jar. And then what we do on New Year's Eve is we go through the year, and you forget all those mundane things, and you just kind of go through the year and relive and remember the kind of partner that I'm lucky enough to have, and that reminds me of the kind of partner I need to be. So, for example, last year I made the decision to retire from the Air Force, and it was a very tough decision, and I struggled with it. But on the day that I finally made the decision, I found this note in my lunch. Not in my lunch. So every day she would pack me a lunch and write me a note, and this was the note. There's no way that doesn't come out making me sound like I'm spoiled. Yeah. So anyway, I carried my lunch. It had a note in it, and this was the note there. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. Our future is bright no matter what. And I love that, because that's the kind of relationship I want to be, and that's the kind of partner I want to be. So I folded that up, put it in the jar, and we just read it a couple nights ago. And I assure you that all of the notes in there are not as mushy and gushy as that, I know. But those are the things that we do to celebrate when we're on Centerline. So make sure you find a way to celebrate. Probably about the time that I was thinking about retirement, I was sitting in my living room, and I was sitting on the couch. Nice spring day. I had the door open, I had the window open, and had another window open. It was just peaceful. And I sat there, and while I was sitting there, this fly flew in. I wish we had the projector, because it was actually bigger than this. But this fly flew in through the door. And as soon as it got into my living room, I could tell it wanted out. It started flailing. I mean, it hit the wall, it hit another wall, hit the ceiling, hit the TV, almost hit me. I felt bad for him. I say him, I didn't get a close look, but I figured if it was a female fly, she would ask directions, but I don't want to stereotype. I got to know where my filter line is, so anyway. And so, meanwhile, this fly is frantically flailing, and in through the window comes this dandelion poof, and it just kind of floats over, catches a crosswind, floats across the living room, and kind of gets floating over, and it kind of goes out the very door that the fly came in. And I sat there watching these two just completely different interactions, and I thought, wow, I have got a lot of free time. But I also thought, life is like that sometimes, right? We fly into some situation all piss and vinegar, and then as soon as we get in there, we want out. But we can't find our way out, and we just keep hitting the obstacles, and we frantically flail about like that fly. But that sometimes it's okay to kind of drift for a little bit. Not a long time, not as long as I sat on my couch, but just to drift a little bit and let the crosswinds and the currents of life take you until you can find the information that you need. So one of the things that Jennifer and I do when we're drifting is drink. We drink wine a lot. So much so that we wanted to take out the middleman. So we thought, you know what? We should make wine. Because wine is a checklist process. We're both Air Force pilots, and if these guys can make moonshine, then we can make wine. So you laugh, but you know it's true. So we followed the steps. We did all the checklists. We waited impatiently, and then it came time for the release. We invited a bunch of friends over. Everybody got dressed up. We opened 2 bottles of our inaugural vintage, and we toasted to our future as future vintners. And all agreed it was terrible. But we're not quitters. We wanted to make wine. We knew it was a checklist process. We're both Air Force pilots. If these guys can make moonshine, then we can do it. So we tried it again, followed the steps, waited impatiently. Then we invited just a couple friends over. Nobody got dressed up. No candles. Just opened 1 bottle. And this time we tried it and agreed it was worse than the first batch. Now, I'm not saying to quit. We tried this iterations a few times. But sometimes we have to maybe change the runway we're flying to. Sometimes it may be just a parallel runway. Sometimes it may be 180 out. But figure out when you're not playing to your strengths. John Maxwell says it this way. I put it a little bit more eloquently, and a pig can't fly no matter how long the runway. So, but figure out when you need to change. So we talked about celebrating. We talked about drifting if you need a little bit more time and information. Talked about changing when you need to get a different course. But if you find out that you are aiming for what you need to aim for, and you're just a little bit off course, and your adjustment is such that you want to get back on course, then fight for centerline. I know it sounds like I'm wrapping up, which I almost am. But I will talk in my lab about some of the techniques that I use. I call it refreshing common sense. Some of the things that I do to fight for my own personal centerline. But I'm going to leave you with this, to encourage each other. And the reason I have this picture up here, they did an experiment with social support and experimental pain. And they had 2 groups of people. This group over here, bare feet, bucket of ice, put their feet in the ice, hack the clock. See how long they could withstand the pain of the ice water. Same thing over here, another group over here, bare feet, bucket of ice, put their feet in the ice water, hack the clock. But in this group, everybody else waiting their turn was allowed to cheer on that person. It's not like they were pouring hot water in there, making it any more comfortable, but they were cheering them on and invoking that competitive spirit. One more second, you can do it. And what they found was this group over here, who had the support of just strangers, it didn't matter who they were, could withstand the pain twice as long as the people who relied just on themselves. We're all fighting for some sort of center line and multiple center lines, so encourage each other and yourself. I love this video, because cheering works. It's that simple, right? So I'll join Leslie Nielsen in wishing you good luck. And I encourage you on your fight for center line. That's all I got right now, so thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you so much for coming out and chatting with us, especially in the dark here. So
good for them.
Just a token of our appreciation for you being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to take a short break, and I do want to remind you that during the break, you guys are going to actually move over to Polifka, and the folks in Polifka are going to swap over to here. So enjoy your walk over. Enjoy the food vendors on your way out.
think every day. So many people think in different ways. You say, where is the music? Tune to free the
Good
soul.
test for Mo when she goes again.
A simple lyric
It's crazy what we're having to do.
to unite us
Hot spot
all.
off
You
the
know.
phone using
Your
guest
opinion only knows the one thing that you seem to want to have most, and you chose to save yourself in your own time. You'll have to stay and open up your own mind. And every glow in the twilight knows that the world is only what the world is made of. Just you and me, and agree to disagree. And the world is only what the world is made of. In all the noise facing every day, the colored world has turned into a gray sea. And from the void, the place in which we came, can we step back and say we want the same old Lord? Your opinion only knows the one thing that you seem to want to have most, and you chose to save yourself in your own time. You'll have to stay and open up your own mind. And every glow in the twilight knows that the world is only what the world is made of. Just you and me,
easy cadet thing to do. How much time do we have? We're still going to run time.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, y'all. So, according to the ancient philosopher MacGyver, the best way to beat a problem is to make it work for you, okay? So welcome to Wood Auditorium this morning, and we're having a bit of technical difficulties over here. Before our first speaker took the stage this morning, our main AV panel completely shut down. It is the panel that not only controls our video input, but also our lighting, so we have a nice mood-lit stage for you this morning. We are making this work, though, so we've got the hub hooked up. I'm hoping that it won't be too difficult for you to hear. If the video does not produce good sound for you, you can find this video at crimsoncowboy.com, which is what Mr. Williams is going to show us. I'm going to go ahead and welcome him to the stage, and he's going to be a real treat for you this morning. So we're bringing on Mr. Sherman Williams. He is the co-founder of Palmer Williams Group, which is an organization created to provide youth development programs and to assist and guide disadvantaged youth to overcome different issues in life. He is known as the Crimson Cowboy for a reason. He is a former University of Alabama player and also played in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and start this video before we bring onto the stage the Crimson Cowboy himself.
All right. Go Cowboys. How many Cowboys we have here? Cowboy fans. All right. All right. Roll Tide, roll. How many Roll Tide? All right. War Eagle. All right. That's fine. That's fine. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Did everybody enjoy the video? Okay. I don't know if y'all saw the little end zone celebration, the Sherman Shake on there. Yeah. I started that celebration, the end zone celebration in high school, actually. I played in high school at Blount High School down in Mobile, Pritchard, Alabama, where, you know, the game is football, and you play football, and, you know, traditional, you know, you score the touchdown and you give it to the referee and that type of thing. But I always wanted to add a little excitement no matter what I did and everything I did, so I figured I'd come up with an end zone celebration. And I started doing this dance in high school. And then when I went off to college has been on a more national stage and a bigger platform. My sophomore year in college, it wasn't illegal. So you wouldn't get a penalty for celebrating end zone celebration. So I came up with the Sherman Shake. Everyone knows the Sherman Shake became a household name at the University of Alabama, so it was a big deal. All the fans really appreciated it. But I had this one issue. We had a coach named Mr. Gene Stallings. Who all know Mr. Gene Stallings? Heard of Gene Stallings before? Well, he come up from the old school to where, you know, end zone celebrations were not something that was encouraged. And, you know, it was something that he didn't really know what to do about it before, but the fans were so excited about it to where he just didn't mind me doing it, and then it didn't cost us a penalty. Now, if it had costed us a penalty, it would have been a different situation. But one thing Coach Stallings required of me when it came to the Sherman Shake was that I could only do it if I scored a touchdown. Wasn't no such thing as making a 3-yard run and then getting up doing the Sherman Shake. No, that would have been unacceptable. But I was able to get it done. But then the next following season, which was my junior year, it became a penalty. And I wonder why. Because of the Sherman Shake, it started a trend. Everyone wanted to do end zone celebrations. So the NCAA came up with it the next following season that it would be a penalty. And then there went the Sherman Shake. End of his existence. But just a little bit about my background, why I'm here today. I'm here today to tell y'all a message about the heart of a champion. The heart of a champion is very, very important because we all are going to be champions in our own very special way. I was fortunate enough to enjoy playing the sport of football. I was very passionate about the sport of football at a very young age. Football gave me the energy and the enthusiasm to realize that I had the heart of a champion. Each one of us in this room today will have our own personal journey. Life itself, we all live the life here on earth, which is going to be ups, downs, highs, and lows. And we're all going to have our own personal journeys where we're going to be able to display the heart of a champion. But it's going to be up to the individual. Your mother, your father, your parents, your grandparents, your siblings. No one is going to be able to display a heart of a champion for you except you. But I'm here to explain to you about my journey, and you can get an understanding of what a heart of a champion really means. Because I grew up in a community of Pritchard, Alabama, in the county of Mobile, was in an environment that was not very productive. How many people in here from Alabama? Raise your hands. How many people from Mobile, Alabama? Anybody? So I'm going to have to explain to you where I come from. The community I come from is called Pritchard. It's a city inside of Mobile called Pritchard, Alabama. Inner city, very much crime, social disadvantage, low economics, single parents' homes, just not a culture for productivity. But I was able to make it through. I was able to overcome. There were some ups, there were some lows, there were some rocky times. And that's when I realized, through facing adversity, that I had the heart of a champion. That I was going to have to display the passion, the desire, and the will to be able to make it to a level where I wanted to be in a career and a professionalism. But it wasn't easy. It was not easy. When I was 8 years old, my mother and father divorced. They divorced, and I became a rebel. I became very rebellious in the public school system. I would act out. I would have behavior issues. My mother would have to come to the school on a daily basis to speak in conference with my instructors and teachers. And I became just a problem because I was acting out. So my mother found that I had all this energy and wanted to put me somewhere, involve me in something that I could kind of have a place of refuge. And my father, my brother, older siblings, they all were athletes, played sports. So she put me in the sport of football. I played the sport of football, became very much excited, enthusiastic. It became exactly what she thought it would. Became a place where I could go to get away from the surroundings, the environment, to kind of be away from my peers and my social setting, that I could be productive and do something that would be on a positive note. So I started playing the football at 8 years old. By the time I was in junior high, I became the #1 player at the 12-year age bracket in junior high school in the county. #1 player in the county, scoring touchdowns, playing defense, making tackles, just doing what football players do at a very young age. But it was because of the passion that I had for the sport. And I realized that I had this passion for this sport at a very early age. But along the way, there were times where I didn't make the decisions that would produce the energy that I need to go and to be in this sport. When I was 12 years old, I became a member of a gang. Became a gang member, started being involved in criminal behavior, started doing things that I knew was against the rules, against the authorities, being a product of my environment. The guys that I was running with, they were not particularly athletes. Some would try it, some were interested, but wasn't really serious. But I was. I was robbed of an opportunity in the 7th grade to get the accolades of being the #1 player. But unfortunately, I got involved in this gang, and we started a criminal activity of distributing alcohol in the public school system throughout the school classes, and all the students that would come in, we would go in, get alcohol in the mornings and go to school, sell it, hustle, just doing what gang members do and just, being a part of that crowd. So I was robbed of the opportunity because of poor decisions I made to join this gang. But fortunate enough that I had praying parents, praying grandparents, that I was willed to return after being expelled as a 7th grade. I was willed to return to high school in the 9th grade to continue on to play football, to be in school, to gain an education, and move on and try to be productive. But it wasn't easy. Having those associations, still in the same environment, having the same peers, associating with the wrong crowd, doing things that I knew was wrong, knowing better, making those decisions, but I was still passionate about the sport of football. I still had inside of me the heart of a champion. I was the youngest of 4 siblings. All my older siblings was fortunate enough to go to a good high school in the community. How many people familiar with Viger High School? Viger High School was a high school in Mobile County that was a national powerhouse that had won a national title in high school national title. That's something big for the sport of football, especially on the state level. I was not able to go to that school because I had to go to the alternative school, which was a school that had a string of 0-10, 1-9, 2-8 seasons for probably a decade. But I had the heart of a champion, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I went out and performed in that school and in that environment. By the time I was a senior in high school, we had became state champions. Through all the adversity and getting expelled from school and getting reinstated, all the things, I still was able to maintain the heart of a champion and help this program, lead this program to a state championship in the 1995 Class state champions. On the way, I became the first player in the history in the state of Alabama to rush for 3,000 yards in a single season. 3,000 yards in one season. That was a great accomplishment. Took a lot of hard work, dedication, determination, discipline, all the things that come with being successful. But it's still, along the way, it wasn't an easy road. Being influenced by the environment and community, continuing to associate, make poor decisions, I was granted a scholarship, signed a letter of intent with the University of Alabama on signing day. Weeks after that, before graduating high school, being a part of this gang, I was charged with a second-degree attempted murder charge. We had a rival between gangs in my neighborhood and my community to where one of our guys would be shot, one of their guys would be shot, one of my fellow members, and we just had this rival going back and forth where people were getting injured, making poor decisions. So I was charged with this crime. Fortunate enough, I didn't give up. I could have gave up right then and say, you know, I'm just going to live this life, not going to pursue what I think is the dream for my life. I could have given up in the 7th grade when I was expelled. I could have said, school is not for me. I don't want to do it. Football, you know, I'm good at it, but it's not something that I want to do. I want to continue to be a part of this gang, be disruptive. But I didn't do that. I continued to stride through all the obstacles, overcoming things. It was days when I would wake up 15, 16 years old and didn't know if I would live to see the next day. Didn't know if I would be shot, didn't know if I would have to take someone else's life. I was going to protect myself, protect my friends. Just really didn't know security-wise if I would live or die the next day. But I continued to have the heart of a champion, continued to strive to be a football player in sports and athletics, played other sports as well, ran track, baseball, basketball as well. Continued to try to get away from the circumstances, but just couldn't. Feeling an obligation. Was granted another opportunity, and that's how God works. If you really have a desire and your passion is really towards something and you continue to work towards it, then it's going to be opportunities that are going to come your way that you're not going to be able to foresee. So I continue to strive. I continue to work hard. I continue to work out. Even though I was faced with an adverse situation, I continued to believe that it was going to work out for the best. And fortunate enough, I was reinstated, went on to play football at the University of Alabama. 1992, I was able to be on a national championship team, score the first touchdown, do the Sherman Shake against the Miami Hurricanes. How many Miami Hurricane fans we have here tonight? Okay. Man, this crowd here, how many football fans we have here tonight? All right, we got football fans in here. The other group was in here earlier. I had a little bit of everything in here, you know. But we was in 92, we was in a situation to where we was a heavy, heavy underdog. Even the most devout Alabama fans didn't think we had a real chance of winning. But in our locker room, we felt like we had every opportunity and every chance to go out there and win. And that's what we did. We was a heavy underdog by 14 points. We ended up winning the game 34-13. 34-13 in a very, very bad underdog situation. We was able to be victorious because we all had the heart of a champion. In our locker room, we felt and believed that even though no one gave us a chance within ourselves, we felt like we had an opportunity and we had a chance to win, and we went out and did it. We could have laid down and just went with the prognosticators and said, hey, we're just going to go out here, go through the motions, and we're just going to let it play out how it's going to play out. Everybody expects us to lose anyway, so if we lose, it's no big deal. But that wasn't the mentality. That wasn't the desire for us as a team to go out there and play the game. We wanted to win. We had the passion. We wanted to do it. We had the desire, the takes to overcome the obstacles set before you. continued on. I was blessed enough, fortunate enough to be on that team. Then won a state championship in high school. After the adversity, coming to the University of Alabama, was fortunate enough to capture a national title. Went on to be drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, the first pick for the Cowboys in the 1995 NFL draft. How many Cowboy fans we have in here tonight? Where my Cowboy fans at? All right, where my Cowboy fans at? All right, we got some Cowboy fans in here. Go Cowboys. We're coming up against the Seattle Seahawks this weekend, and we hope to go and get us a Super Bowl. How many Pittsburgh Steelers fans we have in here tonight? One Pittsburgh Steelers fan, two Pittsburgh Steelers fans. 1996, we was able to win the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was a member of that team with the Dallas Cowboys. We ended up winning that game 27-17 out in Arizona. And being able to be on a state championship team in high school, being on a national championship team in college, and also winning the Super Bowl, being on a Super Bowl team with the Dallas Cowboys. You would think that a person that's been in this would just had all highs and just couldn't live on a better dream or just be at the pinnacle of life. Because when you make it to the Super Bowl, that's the biggest bowl it is. There's no bowl bigger than the Super Bowl. You can't go higher than the Super Bowl. That's it. When you go to the NFL, you make it to the Super Bowl, that is the end of the road. So you go to the highs of the high. You reach that level, you think life is all what it's supposed to be. You had a dream, and everything worked out in reality. Been a Cowboy fan all my life. Just went to the dream team that I wanted to go to, America's team, coming off 2 championships back-to-back, and we was doing good. But the baggage, the stream of adversity, overcoming the obstacles, making it to that level, couldn't separate, making poor decisions to continue to associate, even through all the highs. I was hit with a low. Through my adversity, I was incarcerated. Incarcerated. You're talking about a NFL Super Bowl champion in prison. I served a 15-year federal prison sentence. After retirement from the NFL for making poor decisions, a string of poor decisions, just like you didn't make it to the NFL and become a national champion, a state champion overnight, getting to federal prison was not an overnight thing. It was a string of poor decisions that led to consequences. And it's very simple. Very simple. In life, you're going to have challenges and you're going to have choices. Your choices are going to be the direct result of your outcome. The choice you make is going to be what determines your outcome. If you make good choices, you're going to reap rewards. Going, getting reinstated in school, getting the grades to make it to college, being eligible, staying involved, working out when no one wanted to work out, going out, being by myself, working out, making it to that level. All those were good decisions. Staying in school, making good grades, getting the opportunity to go to college, putting yourself in position to be drafted. Those were good decisions. So off those good decisions, I was reaping the rewards of being able to go into the White House, the highest office in the land. You're talking about going to the Super Bowl, but when you go to the Super Bowl or you win a national championship, you go and visit the White House. There's no office higher than the White House. When you go to the White House, you try to reach the highest office you could visit. I was able to go to the White House, but I also went to prison. You're talking about a string of poor choices, getting involved in the game, being rebellious in school, serving alcohol as a minor, getting involved in shootouts, having illegal possession of a firearm, dealing drugs, using drugs, just criminal, which led to the consequences. It led to the consequences of serving federal time, serving the prison time. It was very simple. The string of poor decisions led to the consequences. The string of good decisions led to the rewards. That's the example of having the heart of a champion. You're not going to get it right all the time. There are going to be some mistakes. There are going to be some times where we don't make the right choice. But that's not going to be the end of it. Because as long as you're having life and you're living life, you got to be very thankful and have gratitude, because in a split second you can make a decision that can lead to some poor consequences. Or you can make a calculated decision and receive the rewards of a good choice. And I live that life. And I understand what it's about. And I understand having the heart of a champion. I understand being in an adverse situation and having to overcome the adversity. While I was in prison, I lost my mother, the only mother I ever have. 2008, I was sitting in a prison cell. My mother passed away. One of the consequences of me not being able to make good decisions, I wasn't able to visit her funeral. Can you imagine that? The one person who had your back all your life through everything, they pass away, you're not able to be there to witness or be able to be a part of the ceremony. To me, that was a damaging blow. That was something that encouraged me to not ever put myself in a situation to be in that part again. Because suffering consequences is not fun. By a show of hand, how many people in here would like to live a bad life, sorrowful, have bills coming, can't pay them, can't wake up in the morning, don't know where your meal is going to come from? How many people in here want to have that type of life every day? How many people want to wake up every day smiling, drinking coffee, do whatever you want to do, bills paid, no worries, food on the table, children off to school, you're having a good life? How many people want to live that life? Let me see a show of hands. And that's what human nature is. Of course. We want to be happy. We want to have rewards. We want to reap benefits. We don't want to suffer consequences. We don't want to be poor. We don't want to be sad. It's human nature. But you're in control of yourself. Follow your passions, follow your dreams, be responsible, know right from wrong, do the right thing, make the right choice. Make the right choice. There are going to be opportunities where you're going to have to make those decisions, and just believe your decisions are going to be the result, whether you receive the rewards or you suffer the consequences. Make a good choice. Have the heart of a champion. When things don't go your way, don't give up. Keep fighting. Don't never fold. It's going to be like that. That's what life is about. I come to you right now today in peace, in Jesus' peace, because Jesus sent me today to deliver this message. And hopefully that someone gain from this message today, that you will strive in your life to pursue your dreams, follow your passions, and whatever that may be. It's an individual thing. God bless you. I hope that someone was blessed today. I love you. In Jesus' name, I pray for each one of you safety. Be careful, and have a great day.
I just want to formally thank you for coming out on stage again and spending some time with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to go on a short break. Please be back in your seats at 11:55 for our last speaker before lunch. Plivka to sign books. He also has some other autographed merchandise available over there as well. So if you're interested, please visit him at Lunch Over Plivka.
Darling, ain't that a pity? Won't you stand yourself in show? Yeah! You're the one I want. You're the one I need. You're the one I have.
Just have to do the same thing with the mic.
Come on back to me.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if we can go ahead and take our seats. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I would like to welcome to the stage Colonel retired Mo Barrett. Mo started her military career at the Air Force Academy. After graduation, she launched her career as a successful failure, becoming the first member of her pilot training class to receive an unsat on a training flight. Not to worry. Mo had a successful career flying C-27s and then later C-5s. She spent her 25-year career using hard work and authenticity. Her ability to view the world through the lens of humor, optimism, and perspective have guided her through the challenges of life and career. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the stage this morning, Colonel Barrett.
Brandy. Thank you very much. I'm just saying, I was really grateful. I had nothing to do with the board going out, but it's a good thing that it's dark up here, so you don't have to look at me. So, okay. I'm a photographer, so I know what it's like to get people talking like this. So, anyway, all right. Well, Happy New Year, welcome back, and I am really excited to be part of LEDx, and I love that the X. Let's get connected. That's always good. Love that the X stands for experience, because you have some first-rate minds and authors and speakers. And they've got this white space intentionally built in, so you can interact with them and buy their books, get them signed, exchange contact information, all those things. So take advantage of that. I think that's important. And to be clear, I am not one of these speakers or these great minds or authors. I'm actually the last silent, invisible dot after the Ann Moore. So I'm going to be right in line with you, trying to get a hold of them, get the mom selfies and everything else like that. But none of us should leave here empty-headed or empty-handed. Again, I'm not advocating stealing things. I'm just saying, there's things to be grabbed from here. And there's something for everybody, because diversity. Anybody's first time hearing the word diversity? I didn't think so. Because we use the word diversity all the time in corporate America, in government, in politics, and certainly in the military. But I want us to think about diversity as bigger than that. It's more than your gender or your race or your commissioning source or who you sleep with or where you went to school, all those things. I want us to expand our definition. And I realize that that's very easy for me to say, standing up here as a half-Asian gay female Academy grad Air Force pilot. But yeah, no, never practiced that before. But I want us to think about diversity in terms of who we hang out with, who we stay in touch with, who we mentor, who mentors us, diversity of the things that we put in our heads, the things that we study, diversity of the ideas of others that we try, or the diversity of ideas that we come up with on our own. So think about diversity in terms of that. And if you'll do that for me, then I promise to not talk about anything you don't already know. That's called getting your money's worth, right? Instead, what I want to do is talk about things that we do every day and kind of have a different perspective and a little bit of an approach. Now, this landed like a pregnant pole vaulter in the first session. Anybody know what just happened there? Paradigm shift. Yes. I showed that to my partner, and it was like 5 or 6 times. It never landed. So, but thank you for understanding that. Okay, anyway. We're going to jump right in now. How many of you have been in the cockpit of a plane during the final approach to landing? Okay, hopefully everybody who's a pilot has their hands raised. Got to be clear. Did it look something like this?
Put down more flap. Just kidding.
Best part. I'm glad you're laughing, because everybody know what movie that came from? Airplane. Okay, look, we've all gone to these events. We all go through professional military education, and we study the classics, right? Principles of War, Jomini, Clausewitz, all the dead guys with hard-to-spell names. We study every joint pub ever written or yet to be written. But make sure, when I talk about diversity, I'm talking about diversity of what you study and what you put in your head. So make sure you study the true classics. Anything with Will Ferrell, anything with Chevy Chase, obviously Airplane, because we are in the Air Force here. And of course, we just got through the winter holiday, so please make sure you've all watched Christmas Vacation. That's required viewing. All right? So give your brains a break. Put some other stuff in there. There's plenty of room. All right, where was I? Cockpit. All right. So in the cockpit of the plane during the final approach to landing, there is a lot going on. The pilot's feet are on the rudder pedals. One hand is on the throttles. The other hand's on the yoke or the stick. Their eyes are scanning inside, watching their engine instruments, looking at their altitude, looking at their altimeter. Your eyes are also scanning outside, and you want to make sure that you're looking for traffic or any indications of what the weather's going to do. He's chair flying right back there. All right. But there's also you've got on your headset or your helmet, you're also running checklists with your crew. If you're lucky enough to be a strategic airlift pilot, you are talking to your loadmaster about the crew, the packs, and the cargo. And you're also talking outside the cockpit. And you're talking about tower, and you're getting your updates from weather and all these different things that are going on. And you're also dealing with the idiosyncrasies of the plane that particular day. Some of them need a little bit more trim. And you're also dealing with the idiosyncrasies of the zipper-suited sun god sitting right back there, right? And we're supposed to compartmentalize. We're supposed to not worry about, did I leave the garage door open? Is the oven on? He shouldn't be thinking about the fight he had with his girlfriend that morning. He shouldn't worry about whether his wife is going to find out. Hey, I'm retired, man. His whole job is to get that plane safely on the runway, on airspeed, and on centerline. And obviously look cool doing it. That's just what it is. And it's no different when we drive a vehicle down the road, right? Now, pilots are special people. We get that centerline painted right down the middle of the road. And when we drive, we just have to split the difference. We just have to understand that that's our maneuver space. And our maneuver space is bounded by physical things, whether it's the edge of the road, the guardrail, the sidewalk, or the edge of the runway when it stops being paved and you go to the grass. There's physical boundaries that bind our maneuver space. But there are also intangible things we can't see, but rules of the air set up by the FAA, or rules of the road set up by DOT or DMV. But our whole goal is to maintain centerline. And when we're doing that, there's things that impact our ability to maintain centerline. All these things that are coming at you, whether it's quirks of the plane, quirks of the crew, all these things. And then for all the impacts, there's an input we provide to counteract that impact. So if we're a pilot and we have a crosswind blowing us off course, we put in crosswind controls, dip the wing, kick in a little bit of rudder, and that's an input we use to counteract that impact. When we're driving, we use proactive inputs, right? We want to announce our intentions. We're going to come over, and we're going to use our turn signal, let people know we're coming over. And some of our inputs can be reactive. We react to our environment and what's going on around us. If that does not make you want to get an extra steering wheel for your car, I don't know what will. But our reactive inputs aren't necessarily to real threats. They can be to perceived threats. I think Mr. Justice called them perception optics, I think is the term he used, right? But we react and we make these reactions. The good thing is that many of us have been flying or driving long enough that our inputs to all those impacts affecting us to fight for centerline, we do automatically. We've kind of delegated that to habit. We no longer have to think about it. It's just second nature. But what I found out is that I have delegated some life skills because I've been living longer than I've been flying or driving. I have delegated some life skills to habit. And I'm just going to make the mathematical assumption, half Asian, good at that, that maybe there's one more person in here that that's applicable to. So for me and that one person, I want to take runway 27, and I want to convert it to the runway of our lives. And the runway of our lives are paved with all the different roles that we have. This is just one person, all the possible things that we can be. And all those roles have a center line, the caliber of that role. And just like in the car, the cockpit, on the road, or the runway, there are things that define our maneuver space, things that we have to live within, the constraints we have to live within. And just like in the car or cockpit, there's things that impact our ability. These are the crosswinds of life. Not enough time, not enough money, the things that we want to do, the things our boss tells us we have to do. And the list can go on. It includes the company we keep, the things that we eat or drink, how we take care of our body, exercise, diet, all that stuff impacts our fight for centerline in the different roles. But the first thing we need to do is we need to define those roles. We talked about the white space that we have here, and I appreciate that you've built that into the schedule. Take some time to think about all the roles that you have. And they are not roles that you necessarily just chose for yourself. Again, the draft is no longer in effect, so those of us in uniform are doing so voluntarily. We chose that for ourselves. For those of you with your eyes closed, I appreciate you taking the time to think about that right now. So I'm assuming that's what you're doing. But think about all the different roles you have. I don't know about you, but I had very little input into whether or not I was born. But I'm a daughter, okay? My sister, rude as ever, she and her husband did not consult with me when they had a child and made me an aunt twice. I mean, that's rude, but I'm an aunt. I have 2 aunt center lines for my 2 nieces, right? And I have to think about those things and all the things that guide my decisions. Now, I have no human offspring, but I have a strapping young son. This is Boomer. I had to point out in the first one, the Speedo is not on backwards. That's his tail. Anyway, there are even things that guide my maneuver space as a dog parent, right? It is probably illegal for me to keep Boomer strapped up outside on a short leash, unattended, in extreme weather. Probably illegal. And if it's not illegal, in our society, in our culture, that's not how you take care of your fur babies. So if there's not an illegal thing, there's probably an expectation that that's not how I'm going to be responsibly as an adult. And that's for dog parents. Is anybody here from Ohio? Okay, be careful about whooping too quickly. Speaking of dogs and laws, anybody from Paulding, Ohio? Whew. Okay, so in Paulding, Ohio, it's actually illegal for a policeman to bite a dog. That's correct, the policeman biting the dog, as long as it's an effort to calm the dog down. So there are things that guide our maneuver space, whether or not we realize it. So if you are a policeman in Paulding, Ohio, with an uncalm dog, you feel free to bite away. But we have to define those roles. And then we have to assess, and this is another thing that's good for all the white space that we have here. And again, for those of you with your eyes still closed, I appreciate the assessment that you're doing. But think about all the things that bind your maneuver space and all the things that are impacting, all the crosswinds of life that are impacting your ability to do your role the best that you can. And then based on that assessment, we adjust. So just like we have those inputs, we're just constantly making constant corrections. And we do it all the time in the car or the cockpit. They are constant inputs. But you have to adjust. And the first thing I always say is that if you find that you are on center line, then celebrate that. We have so many naysayers in our life and on social media, in our areas for improvement and the feedback sessions. There's so many people telling us what we're doing wrong and what we need to do better. But make sure that you celebrate when you are on center line. For example, I'll say, my partner and I have decided that we want a relationship. Our center line for our relationship is one that is positive and encouraging and supportive. And that's something that we have set out for ourselves. One of the ways that we celebrate centerline for our relationship is we keep this jar by the keg and cat. And throughout the year, we put notes in there. And whenever we have a moment that makes, it can be a mundane thing. We have a moment that makes us feel more connected and we're positive and supportive and encouraging. We write it down and then we put it in the jar. And then on New Year's Eve, we go through and we just kind of go back through the year because you forget the mundane things. You forget those things that happen every day that make you laugh or make you feel connected. So last year, I made the decision to retire. It was a very tough decision for me. But on the day I finally made the decision, I found this note in my lunch. Not like a fingernail in your lunch. I mean, like, she would pack me my lunch every day and write me a note every day. I know there's no way, I don't come across spoiled when I do this. But it reminds me of the kind of relationship that I have, and I'm lucky enough to have, and it also reminds me of the kind of partner that I want to be. And so that note went in the jar, and that note was read a couple nights ago, and we had New Year's Eve, and I know, we have the awe factor, and I promise you all the notes in there are not all that disgustingly mushy, but it's a good example of how we celebrate. But find your way to celebrate, whether it's a jar by the cat in the keg, or just some way that you keep track of those moments when you are on course. Now, about the time I was making the decision to retire, I was sitting in my living room, nice spring day, sitting on the couch, doors open, windows open, another window's open, just a nice breeze, just peaceful. And as I'm sitting there, this fly, about this size, flew in through the door, and then as soon as he got in the room, I knew he wanted out, because he just hit the wall, and then hit another wall, and then he hit the ceiling, and he was flailing, hit the TV, hit the couch, almost hit me. And he was just frantic, and with every time he hit an obstacle, he just got more and more frantic. And I felt bad for him, and I apologize, I'm not trying to stereotype. I figured it was a boy fly, I didn't see, but I figured if it was a girl, she would have stopped to ask for directions. But the whole time that he is frantically flailing, in through the window comes this dandelion poof, and it just kind of floats in. And it floats in, it catches another breeze, and it floats across. And then it floats all the way across my living room, and it goes out the very door that fly came in. And I sat there watching these two very different things going on in my living room, and I thought, wow, I have a lot of spare time. But then I thought, you know, life is like that sometimes. We fly into a situation, and we get into the situation, and as soon as we get in there, we want out, but we can't find a way. Maybe because we can't find the opening where we need to go out. Maybe it's because we can't figure it out. We don't have enough time or resources. But there are times when we just need to drift. I'm not saying for a long time, not like Mo Barrett sitting on the couch pondering a dandelion poof and a fly. But think about the times when you just need to ride the currents of life for just a little bit. Gather some information, gather your resources, and then press on. So one of the things that Jen and I do, and there's some of us who know Jen and I, one of the things we do when we are drifting is we drink wine. A lot. So much so that we decided, you know what, it is time to take out the middleman. We need to make our own wine. Because wine is a checklist process. We are both Air Force pilots, and if these guys can make moonshine, then we can make wine. So, we followed the checklist. We followed it meticulously. We waited impatiently for the time when the things had to bubble and all that other chemistry stuff that's supposed to happen. And finally, the day for our release came. We invited a bunch of friends over. Everybody got dressed up. We lit candles. We opened 2 bottles of this inaugural vintage. And we opened it, and we toasted to our future as vintners. And everybody, it was unanimous. Everybody agreed. It was the worst wine ever. But we're not quitters. So we tried again. This is when persistence comes in. Because we love to drink wine. Winemaking is a checklist process. We're both Air Force pilots. If these guys can make moonshine, then we can make wine. So we tried again. We followed it even more meticulously. It's a word, don't look it up. We waited still impatiently. The day came. We invited just a couple friends over. Nobody got dressed up. No candles. Opened 1 bottle. And we toasted to our future as vintners. And this time, it was worse than the first. So we went through a few iterations. I'm not advocating quitting, but there are times when we need to change what we're aiming for. There are times when we are aiming at the wrong runway, and we just need to adjust to a parallel runway. It may be a parallel, it may be off that way, it may be 180 degrees out, but we need to play to our strengths. We need to find where we have talent, and as mentors, we need to find where other people have talent and work to those strengths. This is one way to say it. I like, it's a little bit more eloquent to say a pig can't fly no matter how long the runway. But find your strengths and play to those. And if you're not playing to those, kind of adjust your course and find a new center line. Now, if you're on course, celebrate. If you need a little bit more time, you need to drift for a little bit, get some more information, drift. If you need to change, make that, don't just quit, but change if you need to. But if you find that you've set a course out for yourself, you have defined and you've assessed, and you are just a little bit off course, then I want you to fight for center line. Now, I'll talk tomorrow in my lab some of my little techniques and refreshing common sense things that I use in my own personal fight for center line. But I'm going to start with and leave you with this, is to encourage. Encourage yourself and encourage each other because we all are fighting for multiple center lines in our lives. And I have this picture up here. They did a social support and pain experiment, and they had two groups of people. First group over here, bare feet, bucket of ice, put their feet in the ice, hack the clock, see how long they could withstand the pain of the ice. Same thing, over here, another group, bare feet, bucket of ice, put them in, hack the clock. But in this group, everybody could encourage the other people, just with words, just strangers cheering them on, invoking that competitive spirit. Not like they were pouring hot water and they're making it any less painful. But what they found is the people in this group, with the support of other people, were able to withstand the ice water pain twice as long as the people over here, just with words. I mean, it's that easy, it's free, and we can do it. And we miss those opportunities to do that. So I want you to encourage yourselves, encourage each other, because sharing works.
Oh, you're not just gonna walk away and give up.
Stuck it.
You can get that. That's yours. Nobody else. Get in there and give it some heat. Give it some heat. Get it some heat. Get in there. And you get it. You go in there, baby. And you go get it hard. You get it. You get it. Get it. That's the one right there. You get it. Yes. All right. Yeah, baby.
And so allow me to join Leslie Nielsen in wishing you all good luck.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
And I encourage you, and I wish you good luck on your fight for centerline. That's all I got. If you need to get a hold of me, I'm at mo@refreshingcommonsense.com. My phone number is 3255-181819. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Colonel Barrett, for speaking with us again this morning. It's been a pleasure having you here. All right, before we break for lunch, I just have a couple of announcements for you. I wanted to remind you regarding the static displays. If you're interested in going out there, you can either walk out to the gate right in front of the main lodging building. It's open and available. Or if you don't want to walk, you can also take a shuttle. They're leaving from Polifka every few minutes. So head over there. They're going to be open until 1400 for those. I believe we have a 130, a KC 135, and a T6 out there on the ramp. Also, food. We have food trucks outside of Polifka. There's also food vendors inside of Wood here over in the student lounge. El Taco Shop is over there. That's my Chris's Hot Dogs, I'm sorry, is over there. Prevail Coffee is out front, is out back. So that's available for you as well. Your next event starts at 1:40. I need you to be in your seats in Polifka no later than 13:35 today. Thank you so much.